On this episode of Cinema Disaster, we're going to be talking about the 1985 film Better Off Dead. This film was written and directed by Savage Steve Holland. This film takes a dark subject and makes light of it. I wouldn't say that it's dark humor. You know, it's not like a Todd Solondz film anyway, like Welcome to the Dollhouse. But it is a dark subject that he makes funny.
A large part of the story is about a guy who's so depressed he wants to kill himself, and every time he tries to kill himself, it becomes a funny, whimsical, cartoonish even.
Yeah, which makes sense because Savage Steve Holland was a cartoonist.
Yes, and that's part of what I really like about the movie.
We got to talk about why he wants to kill himself. So Amanda Weiss, who you might know from Nightmare on Elm Street, is in this film, and she plays Beth, which is John Cusack's girlfriend, or not John Cusack, Lane Meyer, his girlfriend, and he's obsessed with her.
Does she die in Nightmare on Elm Street?
She does. She's the one where good. Remember where she's sleeping and Freddy slashes her stomach?
Yes, yes,
drugged around the
Yeah, okay.
She dumps him basically. They go to this. He's into skiing. And they go to these ski tryouts because he wants to get on the Greendale High School ski racing team. Yeah. Which let's in come the villain or the antagonist of this film, Stalin, which is played by a guy by the name of Aaron Dozier. And
Roy, isn't that
Roy Stalin?
Roy Stalin.
And once again, he's a great antagonist, and he's right up there like every other '80s bully. You know, the blonde-haired dude. That they always have.
Really well at being a freaking douchebag.
Right. First off, he's the champion. The only guy in the town that can ski the K-12, which is I guess the biggest ski run there is, and lived, supposedly. And he's the captain of the ski team as well, so he decides what members come on and whatever, you know. And he has a thing for Beth. When they're standing there, that scene where Beth and it's Charles DeMar and Lane Meyer, Stalin says, "Who'd like to hold my clipboard?" And he's like, "You'll make a fine little helper. What's your name?" And then he's like, "Charles DeMar." Stalin looks at him with this just dead evil face, and he's like, "Shut up, Peek."
Yeah, because he was talking to Beth, because Beth raised her hand.
Yeah, Meyer does not get picked for the team.
No.
And on the way home, Beth breaks up with him. No, she says, "We've been seeing an awful lot of each other, and I think that it's in my best interest if I went out with somebody more popular, better looking, and drives a nicer car." So that's basically the whole setup, is Beth dumps him, and then he just kind of feels like he can't live without her. And like you had mentioned, that even though this movie is very cartoony on the humor and takes a dark subject and makes it humorous,
it's presented.
It's still very, not necessarily with killing, not like everybody wants to kill themselves, but as far as the emotional stuff that he goes through in this film, it's very relatable.
I
think anyone can relate to it.
Anyone who's ever been 16 or 15 or 14.
Yeah, because he's a teenager in this movie. I don't know.
Everybody.
He drives. I guess he's 16, 17.
Everybody has felt that, that rejection, oh shit, my life is over.
Right.
And, eventually you grow out of that idea and you just understand sometimes things are over. But it doesn't mean that you can't.
It doesn't always make it easier. Depends.
It doesn't, and it doesn't mean you can't enjoy a movie about being in that phase. It almost makes it more funny.
The whole way this movie got made was Savage Steve Holland made this short film called My 11-Year-Old Birthday Party, which was based on, his own experience at 11 years old. And when it played at the Los Angeles Film Festival, Henry Winkler, the guy that plays the Fonz in Happy Days, saw the movie, and he liked it so much that he took Savage Steve Holland out to lunch. And he told me, "This is great." Yeah, he tells Holland, "I loved that film. It was super funny." And Holland looks at him and he's like, "It wasn't supposed to be funny." Basically, I guess Winkler was like, "Well, do you have any other sad, tragic stories that happened in your life? And he's like, oh, I got tons. So he's like, I'm going to set you up in my office at Paramount Studios and have you write a script. And, because I believe that you can, take these experiences and make them humorous. Savage Steve Holland watched John Cusack's movie, The Sure Thing. And when he saw him in that film, he was like, this is the perfect dude for this role. I want him as Lane Meyer. And the studio was like, no, because Cusack had just had that role in 16 Candles. It's like he played a nerdy type character in that. And they told him Cusack is not a leading man. He can't.
Bullshit.
Yeah, right. Well, this was early on in his career. And Holland was like, no, he's totally leading. He can be. He's totally a leading man. So once he fought with that, then he got Cusack cast.
Yeah.
And then Curtis Armstrong, who everybody knows as Booger from Revenge of the Nerds, he got cast because of Holland loved his role in Risky Business as the friend of Tom Cruise.
Risky Business.
And Curtis
Holy
Armstrong's character as Charles DeMar is hilarious because he's a guy who, I guess he wants to be a drug addict, but they live in such a small town that he can't get real drugs.
Yeah, he says, I can't get real drugs. And when he says that, he's holding a can of whipped cream, like the spray can. And that's fucking funny. Whippets, that's all I'm going to say. That I almost spit out my drink when I saw that.
He snorts Jell-O, too.
Yeah,
I don't even know what that would do for him.
He snorts snow, too.
And snow. Yeah, when they're on the K-12.
On the mountain.
He says, this is pure snow. It's everywhere.
Do you have any idea what the street value of this mountain is? We haven't even talked about the French girl.
Not yet. Yes, we have...
which is established very early in the film.
Yes, Diane Franklin, or Deanne Franklin, I think that's how you pronounce it, plays Monique in this movie, the French foreign exchange student, who you know from the movie Terror Vision, or Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Amityville Horror 2. She's been in a ton of stuff, but she's staying with the Smith family next door, which... Laura Waterby's character, Mrs. Smith, her son, Ricky Smith, which is played by Dan Schneider. Okay? Now, the weird thing about Dan Schneider is back then, he was on the show Head of the Class, but now he's like this Nickelodeon, like, rich executive. He is responsible for creating like all of these really successful kid shows. He did iCarly and iVictorious and Drake and Josh. But anyway, that guy, he plays this dude who he snorts nasal spray all day, and his mom tries to force a relationship between him and Monique, and he's just like this real nerdy type character. He sucks Jell-O through a straw, and we haven't talked about his brother Badger yet. Badger's like the inventor of the house, and he does all this crazy shit. He cuts all of the coupons off the cereal boxes before
so we can get the prizes.
Yeah, before the cereal is empty. So every time somebody pulls like a cereal box out, or even a cat food, the shit just fucking falls everywhere.
The food just falls out of the box.
I don't know why there's no bags in the boxes, because in real life there would be bags inside those boxes. But like you said, this is a cartoon.
Yeah, it's a cartoon.
So, he gets this book on how to pick up trashy women.
Yeah, and then he's got a bunch of trashy women.
On New Year's.
Scene,
And, he gets this model kit on how to build a space shuttle out of household appliances like vacuum cleaners and blenders.
Yeah.
And he actually gets it off the ground at the end. You see it like completely, the whole top of the house explodes. And you see the fire ignite in the garage.
And again, that goes back to the cartoonish absurdity, but backing up, that scene where Lane goes and talks to Badger, he's standing at the doorway and he says something to him about like, why, you're a smart kid, why do you waste your time on all this little kid
stuff garbage?
Yeah, this kid stuff garbage.
And then he goes, you're almost 8.
Yeah, he goes, you're almost 8, and Badger,
he's pissed.
He doesn't say a word throughout the whole movie.
No.
He picks up this thing that looks like a toy laser gun, and he just points it behind, or he puts on the sunglasses.
Yeah.
Points it behind him, and totally like vaporizes
The box that comes in.
Yeah, the box on the wall,
Oh.
and Lane is totally like, okay, like that.
And then you got the Paperboy, played by
Oh,
Damian
jeez.
Slade, who was in Back to the Beach.
I want my $2.
That's probably the most well-known line from this film.
From the entire film, probably yes.
And that's
I
what.
want my $2.
But the thing is like he's hilarious because he breaks out every one of the Myers garage door windows with a paper every day.
Yeah,
And
go ahead.
I don't know. It's just he goes through all of this trouble and risks his life like several times to get this $2 from these people.
I gotta talk about, we have to back it up to nearly the beginning of the movie, but my favorite line in the entire movie is when he first goes to do that drag race with the dude from Karate Kid
yeah. Okay,
2.
so we got. Now I'm probably gonna butcher this name. Sorry if you're watching, which you're probably not. But Yuji Akamoto, who played Chosen in Karate Kid 2.
Sounds right.
And then you have Brian Amata. They basically play these two. I don't know. They drive around in this car, and then they have like like an announcer.
Yeah, like a loudspeaker
on top of the car, and then
connected to a little
Yuji Akamoto's character.
So
he explains one speaks English. One speaks no English at all, which is Brian Amata's character.
Yeah,
And then Chosen from Karate Kid, he says the other learned how to speak English by watching The Wide World of Sports.
Yeah, they regularly engage in these drag races.
Yeah.
And
they're constantly challenging Lane to the drag race.
Yeah. And in the movie, in the very first one you see, Lane ends up he's got
backs
car, into
because he has his car in reverse.
Yeah, that's right. He passed it up
and
he slams into this guy's truck.
Chuck Mitchell, who played Porky in the movie Porky's.
Yeah, and his that's funny. I didn't realize that, but it's called Pig's Burgers.
Yeah, because he runs that restaurant, Pig Burgers, in the.
But I feel like that's a reference.
Probably,
Pig's Burgers. But he backs into that guy's truck, and
he gets out smoking a cigar.
But the line, my favorite line in the entire film, is when he gets out. He says he comes to Lane.
His window of his car.
And he says, I want to activate your dental plan.
Yeah.
That's so fucking funny. Like that. What a creative way to say, I want to knock your teeth out.
Right. And then
like, I'm gonna activate your dental plan.
It's so unrealistic because the next time they drag race,
he fucking rear ends him.
Chuck Mitchell, who plays Rocco in this, he rear ends him. He's in front of him, which is because later on he gets hired at Rocco's Pig Burger joint. Remember, as a chef because his dad got him the job, and it's a funny line because he looks at Lane Meyer and he goes, Rocco says, "So you're Al Myers, kid."
Yeah.
He's like, "Well, you look pretty stupid to me."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Thank you." And
then
he takes his dentures out and he washes them in his soda that he's drinking.
And he puts a cigar out in the lump of meat.
Yeah.
And then even Lane is like, he starts to get up. He's like, "Where are you going?" And he's like, "I'm gonna wash my hands. I have to pat
mold and pat.
And he's like, "You wash your hands on your own time." And he's like totally. Obviously, like, not an establishment that you would want.
But this goes into a good claymation sequence. He has a fantasy sequence where it's like all the burgers and fries come alive, and they play the song "Everybody Wants Some" by Van Halen. And he's got like the David Lee. The hamburger has the David Lee Roth guitar, which you said about the Whammy bar.
Well, Eddie Van Halen guitar.
Right. Yeah, right.
Yeah. David.
I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah.
David, but it is David Lee Roth era Van Halen.
It's like Dr. Frankenstein.
Right. It is an homage to Frankenstein. That's how he brings the burger alive.
Yeah. He brings it up
lightning
through the ceiling. Lightning strikes. But my final thoughts on this is that I really really like this movie a lot. I don't have the same, passion as you do about it. I didn't see it that early.
You didn't grow up seeing it, so it
Yeah,
doesn't have
yeah.
that nostalgic factor.
Yeah, not in the same way.
But it's proof
But
that it's
I
a good
love-
film because he still loves it, even though he saw it later.
I love the whole cartoony aspect, and then the balance of how it's relatable.
Yeah, funny, relatable, dark,
Yeah, and like
and it puts you in a good mood. The movie puts
it
you
does.
in a good mood.
It does, and like who can't relate to something like that every step of the way? And I feel like a lot of '80s movies, like '80s comedies, were really good at that, and I think we're kind of missing that now. But like who can't, like, even if you've never had a girlfriend or a boyfriend and you've never been dumped and felt that crushing feeling, you can probably still relate to the idea that there's somebody who's saying, oh, I can do this better than you, or vice versa, like it's a very relatable story, and I super love the cartoony aspect of it because I love cartoons, certain ones.
Yes.
So
that is Better Off Dead. Yep, right there. So until next time, check out Better Off Dead and One Crazy Summer, and keep watching.